call this meeting to order with the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Prayer listed by Fred Palmer.
Sorry, I'm Joe Copeland. I'm calling in for Fred.
Oh, okay. Come, sis.
Almighty God, we give you thanks and praise for all your mighty works. You are loving, kind, good, and gracious. Thank you for our city and our elected officials. We pray blessings over them and their family and for their safety. Guide us, let each express their hearts what seems best for the city of Libby. Make us one as we serve each other in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mayor Williams.
Here.
Councilor Beach. I don't know if he's online.
No, I don't see him.
Councilor Burke.
Here.
Councilor Ian Smith.
Here.
Councilor Kristen Smith.
Here.
Councilor Taylor.
Here.
Councilor Zimmerman.
Here.
Roll call is complete, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Welcome everyone here tonight. Welcome those who are online. We move on to approving the minutes of the regular city council meeting 1655 from June 17th. Did everyone get a chance to review them?
Make a motion we approve minutes meeting 1655.
Second. Okay. So are there any corrections or additions? Council have any corrections or additions? Then are there any public comments on the minutes from June 17th? Any public comments? Then all in favor of the motion to approve the minutes from June 17th?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Minutes are approved. We don't yet have them for July 1st. Moves on to announcements. I don't have any announcements. Does anyone else have anything? Any announcements? Okay. Then move on to committee reports. City Administrator.
Yes, Madam Mayor and Council, we have the building report for June and then for the fiscal year. The month of June, we sold 2 roof permits, 1 building permit for new building, totaling $3,345. For the year, we have 40 permits sold for $37,198. Made up of 18 new roofs, 9 new buildings, 4 major remodels, 2 carports, 7 foundations, 2 additions, 1 commercial shed, and 1 retaining wall, and then 1 deck. Last year we had 46, where this year we have 40, and last year was 32,360. There was just a few more buildings this year, which cost a little bit more. So that's the building report for June and for the fiscal year. And next steps will be to fill it out and send it all out to the state. And then we'll be returning this report over to the Department of Revenue so that they can change the taxation on additions and the new buildings and get them added into our tax rolls for the year.
Thank you. You already did the 5 reports. So.
Correct.
Any ordinance update? Okay. Building?
Building committee met last Wednesday. We looked back over the lease. I got with the city clerk today. We're going to get with the leasee and discuss a possible increase of 5%. If that is agreeable with everyone, then we're going to bring it back to council.
Okay. Water sewer?
Nothing new at this time.
Zoning commission?
Nothing at this time.
Finance, the budget, year-end budget is on the agenda. I'm going to ask Chief Erkenbrock if there were any turkeys taken. Okay. We thought maybe we got rid of a few. There's no City County Board of Health. Tony isn't here. Brings us to time for public comment on non-agenda items. If you want to discuss something that's on the, if you want to make comments on something that's not on the agenda, step to the podium, state your name and address, and you will have 3 minutes. Sir, are there any public comments?
My name is Chelsea Kraft at 57 Woodland. I had come to you guys 6 weeks ago about putting a stop sign in at 4th and Mineral. Since then, I have gone to all 4 corner businesses. We started a petition, as well as at Tiffany's, and I have 8.5 pages of signatures that agree that we should have that stop sign. And I have 1 thus far accident reports from that intersection as well. So
Okay.
I would like to know when the next meeting is going to be.
The next meeting is August 5th. Gary's in charge of streets, and that is in his committee.
Okay.
And so I don't know if he had a committee,
We have not had a committee
a
meeting yet.
meeting on it. So,
Okay.
okay?
Okay.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Mr. Orr?
I'm D.C. Orr. I reside at 1117 Nevada Avenue. At the last meeting, I requested a spot on the agenda for this meeting to clarify your policies and procedures for getting on the agenda. That same day, I had asked Sam Sykes how I did on the agenda. He said, ask the mayor. So I stood up here and asked all of you, with the mayor included, to put me on the agenda with an action item to clarify your procedures for getting on the agenda. Today, Hugh Taylor tells me he was waiting for an email. So obviously you need to clarify your policies and procedures for getting on the agenda. Now this came up because at the last meeting, the cross-country skiers had asked to be put on the agenda, and they were not put on the agenda. Then when they stood up at the hear of the public, the mayor treated them like they were on the agenda, and the mayor revealed that she had been working on their project without consent of the council, and they had never come to the council with an agenda request and a vote of council. You guys understand that, and how that just blows everything out of the water for what you guys are supposed to do under the Montana Constitution, under your charter, under your policies and procedures. If you guys don't understand how to run the business or the city, then we're in deep doo-doo. I have an email from former Councilman McNew where he said the mayor sets the agenda. That is not true. I have an email from Mr. Taylor where he could not get on the agenda. He's a legislator. It's a legislative agenda. He sets the agenda. You guys set the agenda. Now, if you guys are letting the mayor do this, and she is violating people's right to know and right to participate in local government, then every one of you, every single one of you, is violating your oath of office, and you're subject to recall. Now, I want to be put on the agenda. Can I ask to be put on the agenda, and will I get an answer? Madam Mayor.
This is a comment period.
Of course. So, I asked Sam, he lies to me. I don't send an email, and Councilman Taylor tells me I have to send an email. Where do I turn to get an answer to my questions? Oh, you won't answer that question. You guys are not doing your jobs. You're doing a poor job of doing your jobs. You're violating your oath of office.
Any other public comments? Any other public comments? Then we'll move on to new business, the first of which is to approve the Riverfront Blues Festival noise variance request for August 9th and 10th.
I make a motion, we approve.
Just a second.
Okay, do I have to talk? Okay. Hi, my name is Elida Snow. I'm a board member of the Riverfront Blues Festival, and we are requesting a noise ordinance variance for August 9th and 10th, or 10th and 11th. I wasn't sure because it's actually after midnight,
So you want to go past midnight into the 11th?
Yes, so
That's what-
so it'll be the
To what
10th and the
time?
11th.
What time do you want to stop?
1:30. We're typically
Is that
done.
normally?
Yeah, we're typically done between 12:30 and 1, but I normally ask for that just in case.
Okay. So now you can make your motion.
I make a motion, we approve the Riverfront Blues Festival noise ordinance for 9th and 10th of August.
I'll second.
Okay. Are there any questions regarding this request? Okay. Any? You can sit down. Any public comment on the request for noise ordinance? Yes, Mr. Orr.
Actually, I don't have a comment, I have a question. Ma'am, how'd you get on the agenda?
I sent an email.
Thank you.
Any other public comments? Public comments? Then all in favor of granting the Riverfront Blues Festival noise variance request?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. You have your variance, Lyda.
Thank you.
Next up is the approve the Montana Emergency Tourism Assistance Program grant that Chief Erkenbrock would like to submit for a new patrol car.
The Montana, pardon, Madam Mayor, Council. The Montana Emergency Tourism Program came into effect as of last year, thanks to the legislature. They set it aside $750,000 from the lodging facility tax fund. They're putting that money back into emergency services. So they lot out $75,000 of grant money to be taken every year as of last year. So we're super excited to be able to apply for this one. We have the assistance of the Lore Foundation. They send me emails pretty regularly of grants that are coming up, and this is one of them that was on that list. They were able to help me kind of whittle it down and formulate everything so we could apply for it, pending you guys' approval. It went really well, and we're super excited for the opportunity. Again, it's $75,000 that they give us to help support drug interdiction, impaired driving, any other issues that come with increased population from tourism.
Okay. So are there any questions for Mr. Chief Erkenbrock?
Does the city have to match the grant? Is there anything the city has to do?
There are no matching funds for this at all. And then one of the big reasons why we're able to apply for it and really get a good foundation for that submission is having only 6 vehicles. If any one of our vehicles have any issues, then we're down a car, which then complicates patrols. So being able to put that in and having a functioning, fully set up vehicle really sets us ahead, so that if we do have any issues with any of our other vehicles, like car crashes from pursuits, then we don't have to worry about jumping cars and all kinds of issues that come with that. So it gives us a good backup plan and allows us to have a fully stocked car that is professionally built. So they do all the wiring, they do all of the outfitting, cameras, radar, everything's built into that fund, and it still comes underneath what the grant is for. So.
Any other questions for Chief Erkenbrock?
You answered my question.
Okay. Okay. Any public comments on this grant request?
Karen Dinkins, 1210 Dakota Avenue. I saw the topic on the agenda and thought it was quite interesting, and I know you won't answer any questions, but maybe Chief Erkenbrock will. I read through the grant, and it says that eligible projects specifically related to police would be police vehicles. And it also talks about the allocation being $75,000. A couple of the things on the application, it says that an explanation as to why the proposed project is appropriate, cost-effective, and a long-term solution to the problem. So he did answer the question as to the long-term solution, but my question is with $75,000, how much does an actual vehicle cost? And would it be potentially possible to get 2 vehicles as opposed to just 1 vehicle? And I did not see anywhere where it would cover drug enforcement or anything, so I disagree with that.
So the common cost for a patrol vehicle, standard cost, is about $45,000 without any other equipment. So not including any lights, sirens, locking systems, transport systems, any of that. So the typical cost for a fully priced out vehicle is about $64,000. So getting a fully built vehicle for $75,000 isn't quite there. We would be able to do it, but then we'd have to allocate more funds to be able to outfit both vehicles. As far as, I guess your second question was, what would the use of the vehicle be? What was the second question?
Well, no, it says that it says that an explanation as to why the proposed project is appropriate and cost effective. You answered the long term. So my question was, could you get two? And I guess really cost effectiveness in terms of getting, which you answered both of them pretty much with that.
Okay. And as far as the drug interdiction, impaired driving, they're just the basic ones that we tend to see when we get more people. So the large events we have, we see more DUIs, more people are drinking. We have more tourists coming from Canada, things like that. We see a huge uptake in drug trafficking as well.
But it doesn't say anything about that in here.
No, it doesn't.
So
it's just
so it would only be used for a patrol vehicle. Right?
Correct. Any other questions in regard to that?
Okay. Any other public comments in regard to this grant? Mr. Orr?
DCO 1117 Nevada Avenue. When I was on city council, we had a budget item that approved 2 brand new cars every 2 years. I don't know if you guys still have that. I'd hate to see that the police force is being left with vehicles that are not up to service for what they do. We want them supplied with top-notch materials if at all possible. If that's been removed from the budget, I know you just finished your budget, but maybe that should have been discussed. Thank you.
Any other public comments? Any other public comments? Then all in favor of the motion to?
I don't think
Oh,
we
we
need
haven't
to
had a
make
sorry?
I'll make a motion to approve the Montana Emergency Tourism Assistance Program grant for patrol vehicle.
Second.
Okay. So all in favor of the motion to approve the grant?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries?
Question.
Sorry?
You're not actually approving the grant, you're just approving the application for
Application.
it, right?
Mhm.
We're approving that he can submit it, yes?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I'm moving on to the contract for Andy Evanson. I think we all are aware that Mike Frazier is retiring, and so we've been looking for a new city engineer. Andy is out of Kalispell and put in submitted the proposal. We did have a conversation today, and he did lower the cost. You should have an updated contract was put at your place. Part of his cost was based on doing trips to Libby for face-to-face meetings, which we said we could do those with Zoom and telephone and emails. So that cost was reduced. And his cost per hour for extra work is quite significant lower than Mike's was, so it should add up to a savings in regards to our having a city engineer assisting us with our projects and just general information. And Andy was going to be online. Am I missing him? I don't see him. So he was going to be online, so I guess he did not make that. So are there any questions or comments Mr. Sykes or I can possibly answer? We will still be using Mike. Mike will still be completing those projects that he started, the wastewater project, the Libby Creek project, Spruce Street, because it's difficult to hand those projects off to a new engineers. And so he will be still around. He's just not taking on any new projects.
Did we have any other submittals for?
We
our
did
city
not.
engineer? Well, I can just share that I am familiar with Evanson's work, and I think he's a great engineer, and I think he'll do really good for the city. He's been a city engineer before, is my understanding.
He has been, and he would like to get back into that role. He is very interested in helping small cities thrive. So.
That's what we need.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I got two questions. Of course, I've got the old form and the new one here.
Okay.
So we've gone from a 2-year with the option to extend 2 years to 5 years.
No, we went from 5 years to 2 years.
This is the new one she just gave me?
No, the new one is the 2 years with $600.
Okay. And we're prorating this back 2 weeks?
I did not discuss when it would actually start. I was actually thinking it would probably start August 1st.
Do we need to just change the date then?
You can do that. Okay, any other comments?
Well, Fraser's contract was out June 30th, right? So
right.
If we don't execute this before August 1st, we're 2 weeks without the city engineer.
We don't actually have any things in progress right now.
Okay.
The ones that
question,
are,
so.
like the wastewater, Mike would still be handling.
Well, how about we make
Or
it
we could
effective
make
today?
we can make it today and
Okay.
just pay half, do half.
Okay. Make a motion, we approve Andy Evanson's contract for city engineer with the amendment of, instead of July 1st, July 15, 2024, please.
Okay.
I'll second.
Any other comments or questions? I'm still looking to see if he. Okay. Any public comment regarding this contract? Mr. Orr?
I'm still DCR 1117 Nevada Avenue. Madam Mayor, what you did was you said that Andy Evanson's contract will be less than Mike Fraser's. And you said his hourly rate would be considerably less than Mike Fraser's. What you never did say was any dollar amounts. Is there a reason for that kind of secrecy?
No, I just.
Oh yeah, you want to answer questions.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, in the future, if I was sitting on that side of the table, I would call out the numbers so that the public sitting out here that's watching you guys knows that you guys are actually being above board and looking out for our best interests. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Any other public comment? Then all in favor of the approval of contract for Andy Evanson, city engineer?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We will talk to Andy in the morning and get him on board. The next agenda item is to discuss whether or not to reopen the discussion on the Flower Creek spoils pile, which was, it has been decided several times that we would just leave the spoils pile as is. There was a grant request put in that did not involve the city asking it to, or was not involved with, the city it was not involved with, but then they came last week and wanted us to, last meeting and wanted us to approve. And so I believe that correctly it should have been decided to reopen that discussion, which is the first agenda item. The second is, if you want to reopen it, we discuss how to make the comment on that request. And I know there's been a lot of information out there. There was some links sent to some large documents that only contained very small amounts. of information regarding that grant request. There was some, Mr. Sykes made a summary of a phone call with the administrator of that request. So I'm not sure how the council would like to proceed.
I would make a motion to reopen the discussion regarding Flower Creek spoils pile.
Second.
Okay, so council discussion.
Well, I don't know why we should fear new information. I think the natural resource damage program sounds like it might be a really appropriate route for us to address that unsightly pile in that location. We can. There's two phases, as you saw from Sydney, and we don't make it past one. We don't make it past one, and no harm, no foul. And if it's funded by this entity, the city's not out any money, and we have an improved site up there that the public uses. Those are my thoughts.
Mr.
The other thing we can get out of that is finally having a hydrology report, which will encompass not only that area, but even the logging that was all done up around our watershed there. So, which is something that I think we're in need of to have in our stormwater plan and everything. So, to me, like I say, it's a kind of a no-brainer. It's nothing out of our pocket as of right now. It's one of those things where we can put in a letter. If we get it, we can move forward. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, we have information that we didn't have before. So, which is kind of vital for us, so that decisions can be made down the road, whether it's another council or whatever.
And that, I feel, is where we've been stalled out, is the lack of a comprehensive plan. So with funding an actual plan and doing the analysis, I think the city's in a much better position to make informed decisions.
Mr. Taylor?
Madam Mayor, I do not support reopening the spoils pile. I think we should leave it alone. I think it's above our only water source. We can't have wells, we can't have other such things. I don't think we need to move that pile at all. Last time I was up there in the winter time, about 100 yards from their front gates, parking lot, it's about the size of our parking lot out here, and there wasn't even plowed. And they currently park on city property straight across from the gate. This says there's signs that say smile, you're on camera. That's not part of their lease. I don't think we need to mess with that pile. It needs to be left alone.
Okay. Mr. Smith?
I also believe the pile needs to be left alone. I was just up there, and it's like every other place I've hunted in Montana. The trees and the grass are reclaiming it. Doesn't look any different. It just looks like a rise in the terrain there, just by a little bit. And my concern would be if we start moving things around, what's it going to do to the water if we end up ultimately going with a parking lot or whatever the proposed idea is. Talking about getting fluids from vehicles into our drinking water, and that's unacceptable considering we just voted, and now water rates are more than they were. So I'm in favor of not opening the discussion.
Madam Mayor, and one of our last visits when the council did vote this down, our engineer said to leave the pile alone. The last email that was sent out prior to the last meeting, when he thought this was going to be on the agenda, said to vote this down. That's what Mike Frazier said.
And at that last meeting, when Mike was here for that, he had no answer when I asked him what happens in a 20, 50, or 100-year event. He had no answer. He shrugged his shoulders, because we don't know. With a hydrology report, we will know. We might need to actually add some retention ponds or something around it as it sits right now. But you don't know. Either do I. So why would you not get this so that you have the information to actually make a good informed decision?
Okay, and Ms. Burks, would you like to make a comment?
I agree with getting the hydrology study, but I don't want to see it a parking lot where there are vehicles sitting, dripping oil or gas or whatever. I mean, there's no way for us to divert that. It's going to seep into the ground, and it's right above our groundwater. It's our water source. We have to keep it safe. But I do think that the study, to understand what's in it, would be good, just knowledge for us to have.
Okay.
And the other thing that we could possibly get out of that is to have it bored to find out what material is in there, because we might have things that are in that we don't want in there that can leach right into our water system as well.
As it is, right.
So.
Well, it was supposed to be removed as part of the initial dam construction. Previous council failed on that and let that go.
No, they did not.
Okay, it was part of the contract to have it removed.
And what happened with that contract, Mr. Hugh?
Well, I'm not exactly
Okay,
sure.
let's do not get
I'll tell you
argumentative.
exactly what happened.
Okay.
There were cost overruns, and when you have cost overruns, you don't have the money to pay for everything. You have to start making cuts someplace. If you've ever done a project like that, you would know.
Okay, let's be civil. No argument.
So,
yes.
At this point, the motion is to reopen discussion, and
Okay.
I just think that none of us up here are hydrogeologists or engineers, and with the opportunity to actually get hard data to know whether or not it will leach into our water, to know whether or not there's other materials there that are just as dangerous, if not more. Getting that information, it's our land, so we can decide whether or not what it's used for in the end. But the removal of the soils pile, I think, is tantamount. And I understand I might be in the minority, but I'm not afraid of information, and I'd rather get the information to make an informed decision, especially one that is funded by another entity.
The other entity isn't just funding the hydrology report. If that shows the way they want it to do, then they want to use it as a parking.
But we have to be.
We can't back the vote up and say, all right, you guys paid for all this, you guys met all our criteria, but no, you can't have it.
If we are driving a bus, I think we have a lot more leeway in how we structure that grant application.
Because one of the biggest things would be then it would go out just like a normal, and it'd have to be bid and everything else. If there's $250,000 and it comes back as a $500,000, it's automatically shut down. But at least we have the other information in the forefront to make an informed decision to go from there. But yes, we are in the driver's seat then, because it's under us, the city of Libby, not anybody else.
Anyone else want to make a comment?
I'm open to more information.
Okay, then I'll open it for public comment. Anyone want to make a public comment on whether the question of reopening this conversation? Ms. Nelson's behind you, you see.
Good evening, Jennifer Nelson, 1026 Washington Avenue. As Hugh said, our own city engineer said that spoils pile is stable now that they fixed the lip that was cut through by the ski club in order to bring fill up to build the equipment shed. But now it is stable, and he stated that in a letter in October 26th of 2020. And this council voted not to allow that parking lot. If you permit this grant, and if they do remove the spoils pile, you no longer will have any control up there. You haven't had any control thus far, and it will continue to be pushed through by other entities. You can apply for this grant yourselves. If you want a hydrology study, you can apply for it. And frankly, if you do apply for it, you should look at the whole site, including the eroding hillside behind the rifle range, because it is coming down. And I have personally seen rainbow sheen on water seeping from that hillside. So I think this city council should be stepping up, applying for that grant, getting a hydrologic study in there to safeguard the city's only water source for drinking water. We've already poisoned one aquifer. Let's not do damage to this one. Too much has been allowed up there already. They are hell-bent on having that parking lot and that be the trailhead for all these activities. Thank you.
Mr. Orr?
You shouldn't even be having this discussion because, as Mr. Taylor noted, it was part of the contract that that spoil pile, which was actually called a debris pile, was supposed to be removed at the end of the dam project. And you don't, if you have cost overruns, you don't go to the contractor and go, we're going to let you out of this $250,000 worth of work so we can save $30,000 over here. That doesn't happen legally, ethically, morally at all. The contractor had a contract to remove that pile. The contractor should have removed that pile. Your engineer knew that, and that may be why your engineer doesn't want you looking into that debris pile. It was called a debris pile. It's called a debris pile because they serviced their equipment there. That's why Jennifer Nelson is sitting in the oil sheen. There's concrete in there. There is all sorts of rags and stuff like that in there from when they service their machines there. They just cover it up as they dump new stuff in there. You guys need to know what's in there. You need to understand that your engineer maybe didn't do you right. You need to have an investigation into why that pile wasn't moved as part of the contract. It was required to be moved. You go beyond that, and we'll even talk about the geotech engineering. That whole project was a mess. It was a scam, and we're still paying for it. The dredging work at the lower pond is because you guys were scammed. The city was scammed in the geotech study. That dam was supposed to be sitting on solid rock. It's sitting on dirt. And the stuff that washed down in that water event has to be dredged out of the dam, but it shouldn't be dredged out at our expense. That should have been the engineer's problem, because the engineer submitted a geotech study that was not correct. That dam is not sitting on rock like we were told. You guys, this is why no one wants to talk about it. No one wants to put it on the agenda, because there are a lot of questions that are going to come up as you get into it. And if you rip into that pile, you're going to find a lot more questions, because it's a debris pile. It's not a spoil pile.
Any other public comment? Any other public comment regarding this question? Okay. Then all in favor of the motion to reopen the discussion on the spoils pile?
Aye.
Okay, all opposed?
Aye.
Okay, Melissa?
I want to talk about it.
Okay, so the vote would be 3-2 in favor of reopening that discussion. Okay? So we will go ahead and talk about the next agenda about approve making a comment to the Natural Resource Damage Program regarding the Libby Park District grant request. Funding the spoils pile removal. That is where the email discussion with Sydney Stewart comes into play. Amending, requesting the amendment to the grant regarding the geotech study and the boring on it. And so, go ahead.
Are you done?
Yeah, I am.
Sorry. Okay, so my first question is this,
there is something I should say. We did request an extension on the comment because they had actually said they were not going to fund the project because the city had not made no comment as the property owner. And so as a result of the request, I did request an extension. We have until August 8th, so we actually have another meeting in order to finalize the comment. So
my question is this program an ongoing source of funds, or do they have hard deadlines?
They have.
Annual, is it quarterly?
The next grant cycle will not open for 3 years. So
Oh.
if we can slide in on this request that's already out there as an amendment, I believe it will be considered at this point.
Okay. And so the action item to approve making comment, the comment, we would have to discuss what the comment is.
Correct.
Right.
And I did kind of start a draft of it. It was recapping how the spoils pile became there, that for the city's needs it's in place and fine. The request is for it to enhance recreation in that area, and that is why they were requesting the parking lot. But then turning it over that in order to protect our water source, we would need to comply with the public water supply source protection plan that we put in 2021, and which talks about the hydrology study. And the potential contractor is the one that's requesting the board to make sure that he knows what's in it before he tries to put in a bid.
So what if we just really focus on, I mean, this is natural resource damage program, right? Realizing it's probably stretching a little bit, but what if our comments remove references to the parking lot at this point and really focus on the unknown material and the concern to the watershed that it itself, you know, is presenting, and then it's more narrowly focused to all the concerns that have been raised, and if it brings back information that, you know, we can work with, then we can make a better decision about what to do next. That would be my suggestion, is tailor those comments to be, well, basically I think we need to wrestle it free from the park district. So I don't know how we start over.
I agree.
And in a short amount of time, but
and that's a good question.
If we can take what they prepared and amend it to specifically focus on the watershed protection and unknown, you know, content of the pile to be removed, and make it our own application and not the park district's.
I don't think it should have an end goal of a parking lot.
Yeah, I think the end goal should be to remove the spoils pile, debris pile, if in fact that's what it is, and then because if it's truly contaminating our groundwater already, that's a concern.
Okay.
Not addressing it is just putting our head in the sands, in my opinion. It truly is kicking the can down the road for another council.
I totally agree with you. Very well put.
I'm going to ask Mr. Sykes, since he has had the most contact with Sydney Stewart, and regarding, and actually kind of laid out the conversation he had with her, if he thinks this would fall within her parameter of what you talked with her about.
Basically, Sydney had stated that if we're going to change it at all, then we have to go back through her with a new request, almost. As long as it's within the same funding and elementally the same, it would go through, because if not, then it's got to go back through a public comment period. And it would take, four and a half months to get back through the governor's desk again on the same topic. And then she had said if phase one goes through, and we find out that we couldn't do it for that amount of money because we'd have to hire engineers, that comes out at $250,000. At that point, it would just stop if we came out and it cost too much, and it would be basically no harm, no foul. They were correct. The reporting is easier. Basically, you just do it as built. So if they rewrote the grant and went back to go to phases, phase one being the study and then looking at the pile itself, they could get that part of it and then not move on to phase 2, or they could do phase 1 this year and see what happens and wait 3 years, but then it has to all be reevaluated again with the public.
In 3 years.
Yeah.
So, the park district or the entity that wanted this item on the agenda, was that their opportunity for public comment to add to the grant? Do we know? Or was there ever, I mean...
From what I can distill from reading the documents, there was a link provided for everybody, but what I could distill from there and the conversations, they had decided to not fund the project because we as property owners never made comments on the request, the proposal, okay? And that was a do not go past this point for them.
Gotcha.
Okay?
One big thing
Yeah.
too, the $250,000 isn't a end-all be-all. They could go back for, if we had all the studies and found out it couldn't be happened, they could go back in 3 years and request the larger funds. And then what they would do is they would do a cost-benefit analysis themselves using the studies, and let's say instead of $200,000, it ended up being $400,000. Then they would have to see if they would even fund that project at all.
Well,
You know, when it's all said and done, do we have anything to lose by requesting, redesigning the request, the grant request, to include the hydrology study to get the bore done? And then I'm not
I
sure.
don't see
I'm not
any
sure
negatives.
from my
All I see are
conversations.
positives.
Yeah, I'm not sure from my conversations that we do.
I don't see
We have
any...
something to gain, but we don't necessarily have a lot to lose.
Right, I don't see that we have anything to lose other than is staff available to do this in a timely manner, since there seems to be a crunch.
I think we can probably, within the next couple of days, we do have 3 weeks till the next meeting, so I think we can work on a comment letter. I know, Sam, I've got it mostly done. A comment letter.
Well, and we have a city engineer who can review it and provide comment.
Actually, this is one of those areas in which he's in conflict, because if you look at some of the paperwork, he did some of the engineering up there. And Mike is not immediately available to assist. Okay? But we do have 3 weeks to get pull the comment together that can go out, so you can review it, and Mike can review it, and if they kick it, we haven't really lost anything.
So then, I will make
That's
a
kind of
motion to approve making comment to the NRDP regarding Libby Park District grant request for funding the Flower Creek debris pile removal, with such comments targeted at owning the application and submitting as the primary.
Second.
Okay. Now, any comments on the motion as it was presented? Mr. Taylor?
Well, what Mr. Sykes is telling us is if we change the application, that it's not going to be approved. It's going to be a 3-year down the road thing. And if that's what it takes to get his hydrology study, well, then I guess that's what it takes. I do advise that Ms. Nelson said that if we do a hydrology study, we do it of the whole property. The whole dam, the whole ski club section, the spoils piles, waste pile, whatever you want to call it, debris pile. Because even in our phasing thing, remember, step 1 is hydrology part, step 2 of phase 1 is design a parking lot. So, I mean, and it's there in the whole email between the two of them discusses that the KCCSC and the Parks District is your applicant, and so I think that would probably throw us out of our 3-year, into our 3-year cycle.
Okay.
Well, it sounds like we don't really know that.
No.
Yeah.
Just have to see what Sydney
Run it up
says,
the
and
flagpole.
either works or it doesn't.
But I do think that we need to study the entire property, because the section she's referring to with the rainbow water is not at the the pile is above there at where they put in a shooting range, and the clay bank is coming down because they didn't engineer that right and put it in.
Exactly, and then we've got the logging operation that was to the south of the watershed as well.
And that should
down
have
there
Oh,
a
that
couple
was
years
state,
ago
though.
before service, I would have thought.
I would have
That's-
thought so too.
Yeah. Okay. So the ski club basically leases 28 acres. So we would want to include the entire 28 acres? Is that what you're,
Absolutely.
okay? And the spoils pile is not, there is no, they have no claim on that. There's no lease, that's not included in their lease or anything, so, okay. But basically, two pieces. Okay? Mr. Smith? Anyone else?
I agree.
Let's see what we can work up.
Yeah.
Okay, any public comment on the motion? Okay, Jennifer and Mr. Orr.
Jennifer Nelson, 1026 Washington. Ms. Smith, thank you for that thought. I think that this is an opportunity to get more information. I really would like to see the city of Libby needs to own whatever this is, whatever this goes in as, because I found it incredibly audacious of the park board or the park director and the ski club to submit another application. This isn't the first time they've done it without coming to the city, and it has to stop. That's why we're in the trouble we're in up there, because the fox was watching the hen house. And now this council needs to take control of our municipal water. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Orr?
So, two bits of information that are vitally important moving forward. You heard eyewitness testimony that that hillside is bleeding an oil sheen. And when you're talking about watershed, that is unacceptable. That isn't the first time that has come up. It's just the first time this body has actually acknowledged what is said to them. Same with the debris pile. You had testimony from an eyewitness that witnessed what was going into that debris pile, and the reason why there is an oil sheen coming out of the hillside isn't the first time you've heard that. That's the first time you've actually listened. Now, you've acknowledged that you've heard it, take action.
Any other comments, public comments? Other public comments? Then all in favor of the motion to make a comment regarding this grant request? All in
Aye.
favor? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Okay.
I'm not opposed.
Okay, so you are voting aye?
Yes.
Okay, so motion carries. We will get to work on that. The next item is to review of the year-end 24 budget. I'll ask Ms. Monahan to make comments regarding.
Ms. Monahan?
I'm sorry. I'll ask her clerk and recorder to give us any comments that she sees regarding.
Oh, yes, thank you, Madam Mayor, Council.
It's a long day.
We finally finished up our year, and after doing our budget from last year and going over it, I'm going to start with the revenue side. We actually, I think we budgeted very well as far as trying to identify everything that was going to be coming in. Our taxes were almost spot on. We did get, we got about $28,000 more in vehicle tax than we had expected. And if you go down through everything, it's right about in there as to what we had expected. The CDBG growth plan, that was actually budgeted for last year, and we received it this year, and that's why that money did came in this year. Opening and closing charges, that for the cemetery, there are a lot of revenues that we get in the city that we can't really, we don't know exactly what they are, so we kind of just have to kind of do an average of what those are. And I guess just going through it, everything was really good. And the one thing we did have to change after talking to the auditor, and there will be a budget amendment coming here shortly, and probably within the next month or two, is the lore grants, because we did get special grants that we weren't planning on. And after talking to the auditors, they said they really highly suggest that we open up a new fund. So we put that over in a new fund, and I will be renaming it to specialty grants, because then that will be, even if we get like the police grant for the police car, that can also go into there. And so in the process of doing that side, and also on the expenditure side, so that they'll coincide with that. And that is kind of all I found on the revenue side, because it kind of all fell into line. The one thing that was, as far as the more that we had anticipated, was the plant investment fees, because in the past they hadn't been properly charging people for them, so that's made a significant difference for this year. And on the expenditure side, everybody did a wonderful job. Everybody's been staying right into their budgets. We really haven't had any concerns this year, and I'm just kind of proud of all the departments.
Yeah,
so
they did a really good job maintaining their budgets, and I think they all had what they needed without
and nobody was overspending.
Without overspending.
Yeah. But anyway, that's kind of all I had. I was just kind of proud of all the departments. Does anybody have any questions?
$28,000 in additional vehicle fees. That's so interesting.
Well, all I can figure is maybe people went out and bought new cars.
Bought a bunch of new cars?
Yeah.
You saw a lot of cars?
No comment.
Any other comments or questions?
No, wonderful job.
Yeah.
Glad to hear
Thank you.
all the department heads.
We did have a budget committee meeting today. Hopefully we will have the preliminary budget on August 5th meeting, so that we can get out a little earlier than we normally do. So I think we've just about tied up all the loose ends, and we will be having that out as soon as we can get it out. Okay, next up is approving all claims received today. Did everybody get a chance to review those?
Approve all claims received to date.
Second.
Okay.
I'll make a motion.
Any questions or any comments on any of the claims? Okay. Any public comments on those claims? Any public comments on the claims? Then all in favor of approval of the claims received to date?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Claims are approved. A business license received to date as Life Serene, a personal in-home health or care service, Pioneer Technical Services Engineering Consulting Service, a 3 Mile Antique Mall, an online auction service, and Timber Trail Contractors, an individual contractor construction service.
Make a motion we approve all business license applications received to date.
Second.
Okay, any comments on any of those applications? They all seem to be in order. So any public comment on those business applications received today? Any public comments? Then all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Those are approved. Brings us to discussion of the development fund policy, Libby development fund policy and application process. We basically have two lines of thought on the table. One is to hire a grant writer, and one is to refund an agency somewhat like KRDC. But I think those are more ways to spend the money than they are updating this policy. But it does give us an idea of how to then rework this policy to fit those ideas. I don't know if anybody's gone back and reviewed the last kind of update that I could find on the policy was back in April. And so I think we probably need, with those two ideas in mind, go back and look at it where it is. We do have Mr. Smith sent out this afternoon guidance for a grant writer, and we do have still the job description for the community development director, as well as the bylaws for the KRDC, should you at any time want to go that direction. So, has anybody looked at the material in the last little bit?
I'm sorry, with being gone on vacation for a bit, no, I did not.
Well, I appreciate, Ian, you're putting the grant writer description together. I still think that we need someone with a little more professional expertise in this community. It's just a huge piece that we're missing. Lore has a sunset. They're only going to be here another couple of years. It's a private foundation. And my suggestion or my idea was not necessarily to fund KRDC, but to fund this position just like we would a grant writer, but it's a little higher level of expertise. Someone who's really going to champion the community, seek out the grants that are out there, and really know how to put a funding package together. And I think it's a better investment of those funds for long-term growth of the community. Okay. But I was sort of in my mind thinking, a couple of years worth of salary, 2 or 3 years worth of salary to get that individual going, right, and then ideally you have funding sources that supplement that salary then going forward. Typically, grants are funded, provide administrative fees for funding administration of the grants.
So what's the difference between hiring a grant writer and what you're suggesting?
Well, a month ago I sent around the community development director, so job description. Just again, it's just draft. It's a draft all over it. But a grant writer to me is just very narrowly focused. That's all they're doing is they're not necessarily pursuing grants. They're just writing the grants. I mean, if you look at the qualifications, it's things like journalism and communications, and not things like planning or economics or business administration. It's just something a little higher level with financial backing. I don't know. That's just my thought based on my experience and what this community needs.
Right. Well, I mean, what about what Ian? I didn't get a chance to read what he wrote, but what if that includes more higher up stuff? So we are looking for someone like that.
Well, that's what I put in there. I put in there someone who seeks out and is accountable for grants. I don't. How are they going to know there's grants if they're not out there, searching them out?
Because a grant writer is just a very narrow role. If you have someone who's hired to be a community development director, that's much different than just sitting behind a desk and writing grants.
Right.
So I don't know if anybody read the job description I sent around a month ago, but it included all that language as well as a lot of higher level stuff, and then we still need to figure out whether or not we want a loan out of our fund.
So you're talking about something similar, reaching out for someone to apply, right?
Yeah, I guess what concerns me is, and I've stated this on the record a number of times, I don't need to continue with KRDC, but KRDC will need to fold if it doesn't have a professional staff. And so it's more of the same in Libby, where we just have all these silos, people doing the same kind of work and not working together, not working for the betterment of Libby cohesively. I mean, we're a small community. We don't need to have 3 different, community funding organizations.
And I think that you're touching on one of the basic differences is that more like the KRDC would be forming inner relationships,
Yeah.
so that with the community, so that things are more organized, more coordinated. But my comment is still that we need to be looking at the policy,
yeah.
to now figure out how to write the policies so it supports these ideas, which is kind of where we started. But we had to kind of go figure out what we wanted to do before we could go back and rework the policy.
Well, it seems as though there's consensus to spend money on an individual to assist us. And so I think maybe we can park that for now and get back to the policy language.
Okay. So I would ask, and actually maybe we can resend out all these materials, the versions of the development funds, the information from KRDC, the grant writer stuff in one packet, so that we can coherently look at it and talk about it in the next meeting.
And the other thing, I've mentioned this before, but just a reminder, there are many funding sources out there that do require a 501c3 to either pass through or partner with, which is why it's vital to have that community development organization in your community. So it helps leverage our funds with their funds and other funds. Big funds involved.
Okay. So we will try to get that out in the next couple of days. I hope everybody will look at it and read it and come back with constructive ways to reword some of this stuff. Okay. Last on the agenda. That brings us to, I believe, council comments.
I think it would be a good idea if it's not somewhere already that we have policy to get on the agenda. I'm sure we do. But historically, individuals don't just get a spot on the agenda unless they're particularly important or noteworthy or doing something that is being honored. I think agenda items are for us to make decisions and take actions. If there's other ways we need to share information, how to get your project on the agenda, how to get something on the agenda, we give guidelines and put it on our website. Like, it's a decision the council needs to make, it's blah blah blah, etc. Those are my thoughts. I don't need to see DC or on our agenda. I don't think he's going to. He doesn't have an action item for us to consider.
Any other comments?
Yes, I have one.
Okay.
Mr. Taylor, I apologize for getting a little hostile earlier.
No thing. I don't have half a brain, so it's okay.
Oh,
that's what you said. Anyone with half a brain could see this plan was good to go.
I did say that?
You said them exact words.
Oh.
It's good.
Okay. Any other comments?
I would also like to see a policy in writing how to get on the agenda.
Okay. Any other comments? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned.